Hello everybody and welcome back to another tips and tricks video for Fury of Dracula. This is continuing my Fury of Dracula 101 series where I teach you the very basics of the game. And in this game I'm going to be playing a hunter game against a Terminator, a friend of the channel and the community. And I'll just show you the basic hunter strategies and hopefully we'll find ourselves a Dracula and kill him. We'll have to see. So let's just jump into this. All the advanced rules are turned on. I will not be explaining in this video very much unless there's a very quick question from the Twitch chat about the basic hunter moves, but if need be, then I will do so. But I've got a previous video where I describe all that. So I'm going to pick my starting locations. Couple things. Firstly, I am live on Twitch, so if you see people popping up on the on the left-hand side of your screen, that's Twitch chat. Twitch chat. Say hi to YouTube. I am not going to explain why my hunters are located where they are. This is a custom...
Damn Scots! They ruined Scotland!
Jeez,
You Scots sure are a contentious people.
You just made an enemy for life!
Thank you for that, thanks. I'm not going to explain this configuration of where the hunters are located. If you play with the basic rules of the game actually tells you where the hunters have to start. But I'm playing with the Terminator here with the advanced rules, so this is the configuration that I always use when I'm playing in friendly and tournament games. Well, normally in tournament games at least. Friendly games I might mix it up a bit. I've already made a video explaining why I use this setup and what other setups are available. I'll leave a link to that down below, or if you check out the YouTube channel, and I've got a playlist which is called Knowledge is Power, Fury of Dracula guides or strategy, something like that. It'll be in there. So basically, for the for the first few turns of the game, it's going to be very simple. I'm just going to be staying put with all my hunters. I'm going to be supplying during the day phase, and I'm going to be getting tickets in the night phase. That's the general way that it works. Okay, I've got some hired scouts. Where do we think the Terminator has gone? I think he's going into Amsterdam. No, he's not. Pole. Wow, really? Oh goodness, are we really doing that? I should have searched Cagliari. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. While the Terminator is doing his first turn, I will explain what I'm doing. So there's a question in Twitch chat. I can't remember if it was off camera or on camera, but there's a basic thing was why are the hunters doing this? Why are they supplying during the day and getting tickets at night when the only time you can move is during the day and all this sort of stuff? The reason why is plain and simply, finding Dracula's not enough. You do need to find where Dracula's location is and eventually get onto him and kill him. But the problem is, if the hunters are just moving around, they're not accumulating the items and events they need to win the game. You need items in order to deal with the encounters which are on the trail. And you do have to deal with them, because if they mature, then really bad stuff happens. So hunters want to be dealing with that. You need to get stakes to kill vampires, knives and rifles to deal with bodyguards and spies and all this sort of stuff. Event cards help you in lots of different ways. Event cards can help you find Dracula. They can help you to do big turns later. They can give you greater movement than normal. This card that's popped up, which triggers every single dawn phase, is called Renewed Vigor, which allows every hunter to do 2 actions during the day phase. And this card is really strong. So we'll save that for when we need it. And then tickets at night, because there's not really much else I need to do apart from trading maybe, and maybe doing a psychic scan or 2 with Mina. But we're also trying to rig the ticket deck in our favor for a thing called Fast Horses. Again, I've made a video about Fast Horses, so I'll recommend you check that out. I'll try and remember to leave all the links down below. But if you don't understand, I'll explain a little bit as we go along. Okay, that's fine. So remember, when you fill up your handful of items, you need to discard down to 3 unless you're Seward. Yes, indeed. Renewed Vigor is very much a win condition. Oh my god. I'm getting very strong stuff here, people. Oh, yeah. What is this? Oh my god. What the hell? Why can't I get these in my tournament games? Oh my goodness. Well, that's a very strong hand of cards. I am not complaining. I've got to use them effectively now. I don't know if the Terminator's listening or not. If he's listening, he'll know I've got all this good stuff.
I'm in danger.
Oh, he is still here. Oh, the little sneaky bugger. Alright, he's listening in. He knows. Get any newspapers? Yeah, I've got newspaper reports as well. Oh, yeah, do you want to do the poll now? So, yeah. We're trying to rig the deck a little bit to go... When I draw some fast horses, I'll show you what the fast horses do. But we're trying to rig the... It's kind of a very counterintuitive way of playing the game. The fact you're staying still and supplying during the day when you can only move during the day. The basic premise is you don't want to move during the day unless it's absolutely necessary, because you could be moving closer to Dracula or further away from Dracula. Did he want to get an event card? I don't think so. He just wanted the dark hole. That's fine. So Dracula's staying in place. So he's got this location and a dark hole. That's fine. Alright, we'll discard these. The other... Oh, hide scouts again. Where do we think Dracula is? Is Dracula in Athens or in Bari? No, he's not. Dracula can also see the items I've discarded and the events that have been used or discarded. Rifle, nice. More hide scouts. Alright, let's check Ireland. Hey, we got him! Irish Drac. Oh, he's an Irish count. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, you did call it Met King. Very good. That's so old school, that is, going to Ireland first. Oh, back in the day, Dracula always used to do that. Okay, so now we got an idea. So now this is the thing. This is where the game now kicks in. Normally the hunters supply about 5 days, 6 days. Normally until newspaper reports triggers. That's normally the way the hunters find Dracula. But I found it with hired scouts, that's fine. Now this is when the game shifts into a different gear, where the hunters have to try and decide how much they keep supplying and how much they move towards Dracula. I'm going to have to go and deal with this encounter in Dublin at some point. I can't let it mature. I dread to think what it is. So we'll have to sort of bear that in mind. But I think what I'm going to do... the items over here are a little bit awkward. So I'm actually going to do a trade at night here. We'll give Mina the white one. We'll switch this over like this. And hopefully I won't regret it. I don't want to go into like really fine detail. And yeah, that's fine. I don't want to go into really fine detail about what I'm supplying and what I'm trading around, because we're going to get really technical, and I don't want to do that in this video. I've got loads of other videos where I'm really discussing that in more detail. I just want to try and cover the basic premise of the game. I have got another video where I talk about the basic tips and tricks of the hunters, but the problem is, because I did it in a PowerPoint presentation, I was very proud of that PowerPoint presentation, but I was having to talk in very vague general terms, because I was having to think from the perspective of all possible scenarios. In this video, you can see what happens in real game scenarios. Determinator is going to put me in certain situations, and I'm going to have to try and figure it out. No worries, Julie. Thanks for dropping by. So, now, so Dracula, we know where Dracula is now, because Dracula's moved one space. The only city that is adjacent to Dublin is Galway. So we know that Dracula's there. So we don't have to do any deduction here. I'm just going to keep supplying with Godalming. Excellent, we got some fast horses. Very good. I'm going to keep supplying with Seward. Okay. I'm going to move Van Helsing over here. Into Liverpool. Because I'm going to have to go and deal with Dublin eventually. And I can't move during the night phase. I need to move during the day phase. Let's supply with Mina. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. Ooh, that's a nice card. So this is one of the things I talked about in the previous video. This is a card that is unique to Van Helsing. Only Van Helsing can play it. So at some point I'm going to have to do some trades and things. And I've also got a Hypnosis on Godalming, but only Mina can use the Hypnosis. This is basically a card that means Dracula has to tell the hunters what region of the board he's in. So I'm going to have to do some trades to get that all sorted. I'm going to give Mina this. Remember, Mina has to have one item and one event permanently showing. What do you do, Seward? I think you get something from here. Okay, that's fine. Van Helsing's gonna do this. Okay. And Mina can't do anything. Okay. So I'm not moving all my hunters because I want to keep supplying. I want to get better items. I want to get better events. I want to fill out their hands. But I'm gonna have to send maybe 1 or 2 hunters to try and deal with Island. Yeah, nice meme, Met King. Okay, right. We don't have to deduce anything. We know what Dracula's done here. Dracula has hidden in Galway. The reason why we know that is because Dracula can't move back from Galway into Dublin because Dublin's still on the trail. There's only one copy of every card. And there's no other cities adjacent. So Dracula's hidden in Galway. So that might be a little bit of a problem, but we'll see. Right. Godalming's going to supply again. Okay. I think actually I'm going to get rid of these two. Okay. Again, I'm not really showing you what the events are. I don't want to get bogged down in that. I'm going to talk about them as I use them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a big difference in this game between knowing what you have or knowing what the situation is, and also how do you deal with it. Absolutely. Let's supply. Okay, we'll get rid of that. That's fine. Okay. Right, so we need to try and get tickets. So basically, if you don't know what I'm trying to do, there are 3 tickets in this game that look like this ticket, which has just a white one, but no yellow number on it. There are 3 of them in total. I'm trying to obtain all 3 and hold them into my hand, and I'll show you why later. I've got 2 of them already, so I'm trying to find the last one. And that one can be an absolute gremlin to try and get. Yay, we got it! Look at that! I've got them all. Cool. Okay, I'll explain the significance of that in a minute. So this is very, again, counterintuitive. I'm keeping the bad tickets, which don't move me very far, which is not intuitive at all, but I'll explain why. Don't worry. Do we do a trade? Yeah, let's do a trade. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try to be efficient with my trades. I need to trade Mystic Research off Mina. Because remember, Van Helsing can trade events. He's the only one who can do that. And I don't have to be in the same city. But I've already got I've got a Hypnosis I need to give Mina. So what I'm going to do first is trade with Godalming, take the Hypnosis off Godalming, so then when I get Mystic Research off Mina, I'll give Hypnosis to her at the same time. Efficiency. So this is where, if anyone hears from the Wingspan community, this is where, like, the resource management efficiency aspect of the game comes in. Cool. That beginner's luck. Yep. Pretty much. You get some games where that final white 1 ticket doesn't appear. And now, Dracula's had to go to sea because there's nowhere else he can go. He could feed, but he's on to sea. Dracula takes damage by going to sea. Right then. We are... So Godalming's going to supply again. Ooh, another one of those. Very nice. Okay, that is another one of the unique cards, which is only for one hunter. This one only works with Seward. You can use it to either find out if Dracula is hidden, but we know that Dracula is hidden, but you can also use it to deduce where you reveal the encounter card that's on the trail. You don't discard it, you just reveal it. The only way you normally reveal encounters is if Dracula ambushes the hunter, or what was I going to say? Or if the hunters search it. But this is a way of searching or revealing the encounter card before the hunter goes on to know do they have to deal with it or not. Right, what are you gonna do, Seward? I think you just supply. We don't need 2 dogs, so get rid of that. Evil presence. Oh, I wonder where Dracula is. Oh, look at that. He's adjacent to Seward because he's in the North Atlantic. Sometimes this game has comic timing in terms of how the events come out. That's what the great narrative aspect of this game is. So I'm going to move Van Helsing into here. And then Mina's going to move. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move, but instead of moving by all the other ways I showed you in the previous video, which is by road or by rail, I'm going to activate Fast Horses. They are a special action. So the way Fast Horses works is you go into the ticket pile, so all the piles of tickets which are not being held by the hunters, and you look at the yellow number on it. If it has a yellow number, you move that number of yellow spaces on, or number of road spaces on the board. So let's just do that. Let's just activate it and I'll show you. So we'll activate Fast Horses. So I drew a ticket. It has a yellow 2, which means I get to move 2 spaces with Mina in 1 turn. So let's go all the way to Milan. And I keep Fast Horses. So next turn, I can do that again. And then the turn after, I can do that again. That is why we talk about horse economy in this game. You're trying to rig the ticket deck. So you hold onto all of the bad tickets, all the yellow 1 tickets, or the tickets that have no yellow number. And then you keep in the pile all the tickets which have the yellow 2, because then every single time you use Fast Horses, you can move 2 spaces. So the hunters really charge around the board. The other problem with these white 1 tickets, which don't have a yellow number, is if the hunter draws one of these tickets when they're using Fast Horses, the horses are discarded. So basically saying the horses die, they get sent to the glue factory. So which is a bit harsh, but that's how it works. So yeah, you don't want those tickets to be drawn. Okay, Van Helsing's at sea, so he can't do anything, he can't even trade. And we pass. So sometimes you pass night actions, that's absolutely fine. You can pass night actions, it's not a problem. Okay, so Determinator's noticing something. You can't place a rumor token when you're at sea, Determinator. So you had to play the rumor token when you played the encounter on Galway or the hide space. Okay, so Dracula has wolf formed from the North Atlantic. You can wolf form from sea spaces. So what that means is Dracula has essentially entered either Nantes or Bordeaux, and then he's moved into a city adjacent to Nantes or Bordeaux, but it doesn't show him doing that. It just means that he's... So you can also fake wolf forms. He could be in Nantes, right? So when you land from the sea, he could just land in Nantes or Bordeaux, but since Seward's sitting in Bordeaux, we would know if he went into Bordeaux. But if you wolf form, Dracula is now either in Nantes or in any of the spaces which are adjacent by road, because Dracula doesn't move by rail, to Bordeaux or Nantes. So he could be in Nantes, Le Havre, or how you're supposed to pronounce it. Le Havre, there we go, I think it's pronounced Le Havre. Paris, Clermont-Ferrand, Toulouse, or Santander. So now this is where the fun bit of the game begins. I've got to try and find him now, while also dealing with Galway. So I will skip this. So let's see if we can find him, shall we? So I'm going to actually... Do I supply with Godalming? Yes, let's supply with Godalming. Oops. Le Havre. Oops. Gadami has a lot of strong stuff. Awkward. Oh, did you get gifted a sub onto Moose's stream? Oh, that's nice. Right, so what I'm going to do here with Seward, I'm going to move into Toulouse. Let's see if he's here. Are you here, Dracula? No. That's fine. That doesn't matter, because I've got a plan for him. So, we'll move Van Helsing into Dublin. So he's going to try and deal with this. I checked Toulouse, because one of the... Oh, really? Rude. So he actually ambushed me with that. So, the way rules work is the hunter takes 4 damage, but for every weapon, and the item card will say weapon if it's a weapon, that I reveal, I can stop that damage. So I'm just going to reveal to Determinator that I've got these 2 pistols. So Van Helsing takes no damage. And now what I'm going to do with Mina is I'm going to try to horse to Toulouse. Yes, exactly. Pistol, rifle, and knife are the only weapons in the game. That's true. There are 4 pistols, 4 rifles, and 3 knives. Van Helsing's now my favourite. He's just the old man. He's just the granddad who's just having to fight vampires. So we'll skip with Godalming. What I'm going to do here with Sud is I'm going to trade, because these items are not redistributed how I'd like, so let's do it like this. And also you can switch tickets as well. Yeah, we'll do it like that. Right, now, the cool thing is, because Determinator ambushed me rather than me having to search, I've now freed up a night action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade Hypnosis onto Mina, and then Mystic Research onto Van Helsing. I think... yeah, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do with Mina is I'm going to utilize her special ability. I'm going to Psychic Bond Gallia. Dracula is in Gallia, right? Can you only trade 1 card each or more? No, you can trade as many as you want. It literally, if you want to trade all 3 events onto one hunter and then the other 3 events onto the other hunter, you can do that. There's no limit to the number of things you can trade in the event, in the action. So I did a psychic scan, which means Mina and Sud were currently located in Gallia. I was searching to see if Dracula was located in Gallia or if he was in Santander. He is in Gallia and he can't lie, so that means we know that Dracula's not in Santander, so Dracula is somewhere around here. So now I can send my hunters to try to find him. Yes, so Meking's saying there's something that I like to do, where I fake trade items just to confuse Dracula in terms of what items hunters have. And sometimes I don't even trade anything. I'll trade, but I don't actually trade anything. Right, let's supply with Godalming, because I need to get fast horses with him. Nope, still no fast horses. Damn. That's annoying. Never mind. I think soon I need to get him on back onto a big city. So I'm actually going to move into Marseille. I'm just going to send you immediately over here. Oh, I should have done a different trade. There's a trade I should have done, but I didn't do it. Because I'm an idiot. It's not a big deal. If there's a vampire here, it's not a big deal because I only give up 3 or 4 points for it. Hey, Yaz, thanks for the contribution. Ooh, you put a vampire on the hide space. So this is really important. Something I didn't explain also in the Dracula video, but I'll explain it when I do the playthrough of Dracula. The hide card, which Determinators use here, is only here to, like, beat up the hunters a bit more, but this hide card can never mature. Whatever this encounter is, it cannot mature. So it says here for the hide card, place an encounter card on the card, so you play it like a normal move, but the mature effect of that card cannot be resolved. The ambush can, so he's ambushing here to try and do lots of damage to Van Helsing, so he's just been a little bit of a prick, basically. But it's Dracula, what do you expect? Okay, you're fanging me. So the symbols on the cards don't match. So the Fangs triggers first. I take 2 damage. The vampire would heal, but it's already full health. And then I escape. I'm going to try and save him. It's very possible I won't be able to deal with this. Vampire? Oh, it's another vampire. What a surprise. If I was clever about this, I should have traded something. But never mind. It sounds like rats with extra steps. All the memes are coming out. So now this vampire is very interesting. You see how that new vampire before ambushed me, and we had the combat, and we had the combat immediately. It fanged me, but nothing happened in terms of the influence. It just, I took damage and that was it. But with this reckless vampires have fewer health than new vampires. But if that reckless vampire is able to get fanged or fang attack onto me during the ambush combat, the influence track will go up by 1. And Dracula has 2 fangs in every combat deck, but some of them will not be drawn. So let's see if I can try and do a little something here, and hopefully I won't die, because this would be very unfortunate if I die now. Oh, the Terminator! Stop! Oh dear. Well, that's a problem. The old man might die now. He might die now. We'll have to see. This is very unfortunate. So, I'm going to play... I shouldn't really say I like it, somebody's watching. I'm going to play this... yeah. Oh, you're clawing me? I could have played my gun, but never mind. So I'm taking 2 damage here. But the way that plotting works is my card... because it's a basic card. It's not one of my item cards, because it's one of the basic ones, which is dodge, escape, or punch. It gets cancelled, so I'm still stuck in this poxy combat. Which is not great. Not great, to be honest. So I'm trying to think how I survive here, because if Van Helsing goes down to 0 health, he dies. Or gets defeated, rather. I should have done things a little bit differently with this, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll figure it out. Do you have a second plotting? Is the question. You probably. I wouldn't be surprised if you do, but I don't take the chance that you don't. Do you? Yes, he didn't have a second plotting. I could have played pistol, but it's fine. We've dodged it. That's the most important thing. Excellent. Okay. So now we play this. What are you going to play? Hey, we didn't take any more damage and we escaped from the combat. Okay, so as a starting hunter player, you might be thinking, why am I being such a wuss? why am I playing so defensive? I'm just escaping and dodging all the time. The reason why is because stakes, so this item, is normally the thing that you want to use to try to kill vampires, because you don't have to do any of that combat stuff. You get the combat initially with the ambush, but you don't need to kill it in the combat. You just use the stake afterwards when you search, and then the vampire disappears. The other thing is, because Van Helsing doesn't have a lot of health, I don't want a situation where I try to be aggressive and kill the vamp, even though I probably actually could have killed the vamp, and then Van Helsing just dies. Because if Van Helsing dies, the vampire matures, unless another hunter can get there in time, but also Van Helsing dies, so I'm giving up even more influence, and I would lose all of these items and all of these events. And that's not worth it. So as hunters, sometimes you have to realize that you can't do something, because if that situation goes badly for you, then the game goes really far out of your control. It's not game ending if Van Helsing dies, but I don't want to lose, well, especially these 2 events here on the right-hand side. I don't want to lose them and then give up more influence just for a vampire that's only going to mature for 4 health. If I was a little bit cleverer, I could have maybe traded some stuff, which means I could kill this vamp. I can't, so I'm not going to waste any more time trying to deal with it. Mina could either go to Seward, and they can... I think what I'm going to do here, I am going to move her into Marseille, And we're going to psychic scan again. And let's see if Dracula has left Gallia or not. So you're going to do nothing. You are going to, I suppose, try and improve our ticket economy. Nope, never mind. I could have thrown it back in, but I didn't. I'm actually going to use Mystic Research here. So Mystic Research means... Right. So the way Mystic Research works is you look at the bottom 6 cards of the event deck. If there are any which are Dracula cards, they get discarded. The Hunter cards stay there. I don't know what the Hunter cards are, but it means now I can Night Supply, and I know I'm not in any danger of drawing Dracula events. Remember, when you draw... If you do if you do a supply at night, you draw the events from the bottom of the deck, and if you draw a Dracula card, it goes into the Dracula hand, and then Dracula can really mess up the hunters that way. So I don't ever want a night supply, but now I've got Mystic Research. I basically got 3 additional supplies which are safe, and I'm going to get hunter events. I'm going to use the Psychic Bond again. He's still in Gallia. Okay, so we know he hasn't sneaked into Geneva. I don't think that Psychic Scan was very necessary, but it's okay. I didn't want Mina to use horses and then suddenly stumble into Dracula. That would have been pretty bad for me. Exactly, yeah. The aim of the hunters is not to die, because they can overwhelm Dracula later if they're able to supply a lot, deal with the trail, all that sort of stuff. If the hunters die really early, they lose all of their events, they're giving up more influence, and they're just conceding tempo to Dracula, basically. So we don't want that to happen. Dracula's gone to sea. That's very interesting. So we know that Dracula... Right, okay. So we know that Dracula was always in Gallia. The only port cities for Gallia are Marseille, but these hunters are in Marseille, so we know Dracula can't be there. Bordeaux is not possible, or is not here. The reason why is because there's a sea space here. Dracula could go to the North Atlantic, except North Atlantic is on the trail here. When a space is on the trail, if it's a sea space or a location, it cannot go a second time. So we know for a fact this is not North Atlantic. So the only other option is Le Havre, or Le Havre, or how you're supposed to pronounce it. So Dracula is currently in the English Channel. So with Godalming, I'm going to supply again. Hey, we got the horses that we wanted. Excellent. I could have moved with Godalming, but I'd rather just get the horses. Surprising return. I'm going to be a twat to all the people who like wax cylinders. I'm going to get rid of wax cylinders. I know it's a bit controversial. There are people who really like wax cylinders, but I don't. I'm going to send Seward up to Le Havre just in case. Yes, so we know it's there. So what Met King has said is Dracula wolf formed from North Atlantic either into Nantes or into Paris, and then moved into Le Havre, and then is now in English Channel. So it looks like Dracula wants to go back to Britannia because it's been vacated. Now I've got to be a little bit careful here because Dublin is a layer. So basically, when that space fell off the trail and it was empty and there was nothing for Dracula, to terminate it to mature, Dracula layered it, and now there's an encounter in here. This encounter can never mature unless it gets added back into the trail at some point. But if I move into there now, Van Helsing's going to take damage, and I don't really want that to happen. So I might actually do just now is just supply. Sense of emergency. Very good. Jack Terminator. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to move Mina with horses, and we'll move into Paris, and let's just see if there's something in Paris. There probably is. Yeah, it was Paris. Okay, so Dracula wolf formed from North Atlantic into Paris, and then into Le Havre. So actually, Dracula putting down this sea space actually told me a lot about what his trail was. So it made my deduction a lot easier. Okay, very good ambush actually from Dracula. I shouldn't have actually gone in there. So, yeah, I'll reveal the rifle. So that's what Spy does. It means I have to reveal all my events and items to Dracula and then discard my tickets, or I just discard a weapon. I'll discard a weapon. I've got no problem with that. Okay, you do nothing. Layers are added back to the trail in the same condition they were in, so Dublin will be place revealed if he goes back to it. That's very true. Yeah, if Dracula somehow made his way back into Dublin, Dublin would go onto the trail revealed, but you'd have 2 encounters here, because every time you go into a location for the when you add it to the trail, you add an encounter. But you can delete the layer. Dracula could remove this layer before returning there. Layers are a bit weird and complex. They're not as difficult as they seem, just at the beginning we got all this other stuff to worry about. You're like, what are these layers? Right, okay. What do I do with Seward? I'm not actually going to search Le Havre. I think I'd rather just supply. Take advantage of these night supplies that I've got. Local rumours. Oh, I wonder where Dracula is. I'm going to do a little switcheroo. Or do I? No, I should probably heal. Let's be a good hunter and we'll heal. Amina can now night supply. Because we know the night supply is safe and we'll get a weapon. I said we'd get a weapon. This is not a weapon. in no circumstances is that a weapon. So Dracula's going to mature the vampire. So he's going to get 4 points on his little thermometer over here, the influence tracker, and then the next 3 spaces after that in the trail are removed from the board. So I don't have to worry about the hide card anymore. I don't have to worry about North Atlantic and also Paris, but Paris there was no encounter anyway because Determinator, very rightly so, ambushed me. Okay. So Dracula has landed from the English Channel. Let me just show you the map for 1 second. Dracula has landed immediately from the English Channel. He could land in Le Havre, but he can't because Le Havre is on the trail. So he's either in Plymouth, and yes, Plymouth is on the English Channel side. I do realise for people who are not from the UK, it can be quite hard to work out. Is Plymouth on the Irish Sea coast or the English Channel coast? But as a Brit, Plymouth is definitely on the south coast of England. So he's on the English Channel, or he's in London. He could have wolf formed from the sea like he did, because the wolf form was available because the Galway vampire matured before the matured and took wolf form off the trail before Dracula moved. So Dracula could have used wolf form again if he wanted to, but he didn't. Right. I'm not going to move my hunters very much. Normally here I'd be going, right, let's get all the hunters over to Britannia, but I'm not going to because I have a little something for Dracula. We have a little thing called Consecrated Ground, which is going to really ruin Dracula's day. So yeah. Wolf form, yeah, making answers the question. You take 1 health off, but you can move up to 2 road spaces. Or, from this situation, Dracula could have wolf formed through Le Havre into one of the cities adjacent to Le Havre, or through London or Plymouth into one of the spaces adjacent. So he could have wolf formed up to Manchester, for example, or to Swansea. I've got a little consecrated ground waiting for him, so I'm going to be a little bit of a twat and play that. And just make life very miserable for Dracula. So, we're going to skip this. So, I'm going to move with Godalming. I'll move him over to Zurich. I'm going to supply with Sewards. I'll supply with Van Helsing. This is very, very passive play, by the way, just because I've got cards set up in a way that I can do this. This is not very conventional, but it's okay. It's fine. When you see this, you'll realise why Consecrated Ground is OP. Oh, there's Lucy's Revenge. So Lucy's Revenge is the unique card that Godalming can use. In this situation, it's weaker than all the other stuff I've got, and I don't actually need Lucy's Revenge because of what's about to happen, so we'll get rid of Lucy's Revenge. Yes, exactly, yeah. We call CG, Consecrated Ground CG, we like to shorten quite a lot of it. Some things we don't shorten, but CG we do. Because it's special. So, we're going to skip with Godalming. And now we're going to activate, as a special action, we're going to activate Consecrated Ground. So before I do that, let me show you. So Consecrated Ground can only be activated during the night phase, but you use it as an action. So this is going to be Seward's entire night action. Here we go. So what does Consecrated Ground do? Hotel. I could do the CG hotel. I'm just gonna do non-hotel stuff, just so we don't throw even more terminology around. There's lots of memes about that. So what CG Consecrated Ground does is you're gonna place a Consecrated Ground token on any city on the board that you want. So I'm gonna put it into London. If a Consecrated Ground token lands into a city which is part of Dracula's trail or lair, it reveals the location. So it's revealed to me that he's in London, and also it reveals the encounter as well. So we know there's a hoax in London. Now what happens next is all the hunters in turn can look at their hand. If they have at least one Heavenly Host item card, they can reveal one Heavenly Host to then place an additional token on the board, which is called the Heavenly Host token. It acts in the same way as the CG token. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play two of them. I'm going to play all of them. So the way I've done it, I've distributed all my Heavenly Hosts. There are 3 Heavenly Hosts in total, in terms of items. So I can place up to 3 of these tokens on the board. There we go. So we've got Consecrated Ground in London, and then a Heavenly Host in Manchester, in Swansea, and in Plymouth. Right. Why am I doing this? What basically happens here is these tokens are significant for a couple of things. Not only do they reveal if that location is on the trail, and also then what encounter it is, but these tokens which are on the board, CG token is permanent. There's an event card for Dracula that removes it, but for all intents and purposes, it's permanent. The Heavenly Host tokens will persist until the next Dawn phase. So basically, after Dracula has done his phase. Dracula cannot stay in a location which has either CG token or Heavenly Host token. He cannot move into a city which has a Consecrated Ground token or Heavenly Host token. He cannot use Dark Call. He cannot feed. And he cannot wolf form through a city that has a CG token or Heavenly Host token. So Dracula cannot wolf form through Manchester to get up to Edinburgh, or through Swansea or Manchester to get to Liverpool. He's basically now trapped entirely by this. And basically what's going to happen here on Dracula's turn is Dracula will slide the trail, and then the game will say, right, Dracula, you need to move. But there's literally nowhere you can move to. You can't play any card like Dark or Feed, and he can't even move to the English Channel, because the English Channel is on the trail. So as Metking is saying, this is now, if he's going to get himself out of this situation, he has to play an illegal move. And illegal moves are illegal. We call this checkmate in the game. So what happens is Dracula will take the penalty damage, which is 5. That's the standard rule in the game. And then all the locations on the trail are removed completely, except the current location, because Dracula always has to have... There are situations where this can break, but in all situations, normally Dracula needs a current location. So Le Havre will disappear, and English Channel will disappear from the board. But Dracula still has to move. And these tokens will still be persisting on the board, so the only place that Dracula can move into is the English Channel. Which then means he's going to then take 2 more damage for going into the sea. That's what's going to happen. He's going to take 5 damage for the checkmate, and then 2 more damage for having to go back into the English Channel. So I'm going to rest with Van Helsing. And then with Mina, we just... Oh, we can supply again, actually, because we've got 1 more night supply. Okay, that's fine. There we go. Yeah, so it's not looking good for old Drac. So, the terminology is referring around in chat. CG nuke is when It's a similar situation to the... Here you go. Dracula's unable to perform an action and will now be revealed. Clear the trail and take 5 damage. Boom, there he goes. He takes 5 damage. He's still in London. So he's going to have to move, and he'll move into the English Channel. Because that's all he can do. There's nothing else Dracula can do. So CG Nuke is there are certain locations on the board. Let's look at Granada. If we look at Granada on the board. Granada has its own space, and it is connected by road to 3 other cities. If I did the exact same thing as I did up here with London, if I did it in Granada, Dracula would take the penalty damage, it'd wipe the whole trail, and then Dracula would have to move. But he can't move anywhere because the Heavenly Host tokens and CG tokens are still in place. So then he takes 5 damage again. And then he takes 5 damage again, and he keeps taking this 5 damage, and he just instantly dies. That's why we call it the CG nuke. It's like you're just dropping a nuclear bomb on top of Dracula, and he just dies. There's nothing you can do about it. I think there are 4 or 5 locations on the board, where this could happen. There's Granada, there's Florence, there's Berlin, there's Prague, and Manchester. The situation around the castle, there's an exemption for Consecrated Ground because obviously Castle Dracula has a different back, so you know that when Dracula's gone into Castle Dracula, you can easily block him in Castle Dracula, but you cannot play Consecrated Ground or Heavenly Host tokens in Castle Dracula, or in Galatz, or in Klausenburg, so Dracula can always escape from the castle. If you hadn't had CG, I'd left a little trap for you in Le Havre, I can imagine. If you had Fog in there to Terminator, you should have ambushed Seward, because then he would have been delayed at night, and he wouldn't have been able to play the Consecrated Ground. I could have traded it off onto Van Helsing, but you could have done that. So now, what's going to basically happen next is... Dracula's either going to move into North Sea or North Atlantic, and he's going to take 1 more damage. Or he's going to move into Plymouth. I'm not sure why... Oh yeah, because it's Dawn Phase, isn't it? Right, let me just do this. Skip. So, on Dracula's next turn, he's either going to go into North Sea or North Atlantic, and he's only got 1 health left, so he'll just do a Davy Jones and just top himself. He'll move into Le Havre, which is where Seward is waiting for him, or he'll move into Plymouth. Now, moving to Plymouth is not a bad option because there's no hunter there, but the problem is he's trapped behind Consecrated Ground. He can't wolf form through it, and that's what the CG Hotel is. CG Hotel is when you organize the CG token in such a way that Dracula's basically blocked in, and he's stuck there for several turns. He can do things like hide and feed and dark call, but he's not moving anywhere, and the hunters can reposition and then jump on him. So it's really neat when that happens. So I'm just going to try and get everybody into Le Havre, in anticipation that there's going to be a fight in there tomorrow. But Dracula might just go to sea and just say, I can't be bothered. Oh, that's very nice. We'll just apply again with Van Helsing. And then apply again with Mina. Very good, we'll take that. Now, what I hope will happen is that Dracula moves into Le Havre here, so we can see how multi-hunter combat works. But that's okay. So it would have been CG Hotel if Scott did not play Heavenly Host token in Plymouth. Exactly, because Dracula could have moved into Plymouth, but then he would have been still trapped behind the CG token. But I wanted him to take the penalty damage. Let's do a little switcheroo. Not that it's going to matter. Huh? What do you mean abandon trade? I just traded the items across. Oh, did I actually do the trading correctly? Nice. You do nothing, Sunshine. You just heal, even though you're not going to be doing anything. And then Mina just psychic scans for the giggles, even though we know that he's not there. Yeah, there's a lot of like advanced strategy, and there's lots of memes and all this sort of... Oh, okay, we must. I don't want to be rude to Terminator, but it's not looking very good for you at the moment. You could go into Plymouth and then feed, but then you're going to have to Dark Core at some point. So you've basically only got 2 health, and then you have to go back to sea again anyway. So, okay, sod it. Let's just play Renewed Vigor to show you what that does. So I get basically all the hunters now have 2 actions during their day phase. They cannot repeat the same action twice. No. Dark Core Devilish Power. No, no, Dark Core rules turned off. Nice try, Snuff. Right, I'm going to escape here because I want to show them how multi-hunter combat works. Yeah, Dracula's on. I'm going to move my camera up just so you can see Dracula's health. Whoop, there you go. Now that we've finished discussing all the movements and things. Oh, bye-bye. Let's have a night fight. Woo! I could have killed Dracula that day fight, but I want to show how multi-hunter combat works, because I want to show it as a basic strategy. How 1v1 combats are very difficult for the hunters, but multi-hunter combat, oh, then you're living the dream. So I'm going to move Godalming into here. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to supply first. Oh yeah, I didn't even get the last horse, did I? We'll discard the horse. We're not going to need it. So we supplied, that's the first action, and then we move into Le Havre, that's the second action. You notice there's no encounter card here, because Dracula had to move into a space where the hunter is, you can't place an encounter. Which I think is a little bit of a strange rule, but never mind, it's okay. So let's supply with Seward, behind the veil. Okay, so this card allows me to look at Dracula's current encounters, and then we discard one of them. Oh, also no time to set up a trap, that's also kind of an interesting way to think about it. Let's just trade with Godalming. Van Helsing can do a little supply. Long night. Okay, thank you for that game. And then we'll move Van Helsing into the sea. Awful hand. Ah, yeah, he didn't have fangs when he needed it. That's okay. So let's move Mina in. And then we can supply in Le Havre. Do we get something good? Oh my goodness, right. This is a card that can just completely forget about combat and we just yeet Dracula, basically. But I want to show you the combat. Dracula spends the rest of the night setting up a trap. Ah, interesting. Okay. Oh, right, yeah, the encounters weren't the strongest. Okay, I'm going to skip this Heroic Leap because I want to show you the combat. If I activate Heroic Leap there'll be no combat right now, and just Dracula will take 5 damage, and the Hunter takes 5 damage. But Dracula takes the damage first, so that means that Dracula had died. We don't care about the 5 damage that's done to the Hunters. We'll do a Lucky Find to get something else for Seward. We'll take this, because that's fun. Okay. So now you'll notice we got 3 hunters in this combat. It's not a 1v1. So the way that combat normally works is if you've got a 1v1, Dracula's card is pitted up against that one hunter's card. Dracula might be able to cancel the hunter's card, the hunter might be able to cancel Dracula's card, and we'll see what happens. But Dracula has some very powerful stuff which can break the hunter's weapons, bite them, kill them, whatever. Okay? But in this situation, when you got a 3-on-1, every hunter picks a card, but Dracula only picks one card and can only target one hunter. So that means even if he cancels one of the hunter's cards and breaks the weapon or whatever, the other 2 hunters are hitting on him for free. So that's a way that you can do huge amounts of damage to Dracula. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to play the weapons. Because we are guaranteed to kill Dracula here unless we do... Boo! What do you mean, boo? What are you saying? Boring, boring. You want me to risk it? So you see, he's targeting Mina. Let's see what happens. Ah, you're trying to fang the Heavenly Host, but I've got a knife. If the... oh yeah, I could have punched him. That's right, I could have punched him. If, for some reason, Mina's card was blocked there, Godalming and Seward's cards would still trigger. And we got him. We killed ourselves a Dracula. GG indeed, Determinator. So there's a lot of stuff happening in that game. Dracula got a vampire to mature. We saw a little bit of combat. You saw me deciding not to take a combat with a vampire. Even though I could have maybe killed it, I chose not to. We had the 3-on-1 combat with Dracula at the end. You saw consecrated ground. You saw the fast horses a little bit. Every game is different. Some games are really epic long chases. Other games are like this one where you just get, fairly easy deduction and you can sort of block Dracula. If I hadn't drawn this consecrated ground, that play would not have been possible. Or if Dracula had wolf formed into Swansea, because he would have been on a coastline which wasn't on his trail, so he would have been completely safe from CG. So that's the basic hunter strategy. There's loads of other stuff, but as you're getting familiar with the cards and things, you will get used to it. There you go. No worries, Snuff. Thanks for joining. GG. Okay. Is there anything that Twitch chat want to ask about the game? There's loads of other things that we've got. Event cards that give you additional movement, which we didn't talk about. You're having to sort of manage items and things and try to work out what items you need. In general, the hunters will prioritize fast horses because they need to get the express movement going. Because the movement is just so valuable. Especially when you're trying to move between cities that have no rail connections. You need to have weapons, because weapons are good at dealing with encounters, but also to try and kill Dracula in combat. Stakes are good for killing vampires with very little risk. And Heavenly Host for the consecrated ground. That's the general consistency of, you know, what items hunters hold on to. But sometimes the items do not fall the way you want them to. There are other cool items like Holy Bullets and Crucifix that you can maybe mix in to try and sort of confuse Dracula a little bit. But as you're playing the game, you will pick up these things and you'll pick up certain preferences for things, or you'll just be exposed to lots of different things, and you have to then try to work out what you want to do, what the priority is, etc, etc, etc. If you see that Dracula has used up a lot of vampires early, then you don't need to keep the stakes. Oh, I'm really happy, Sophie. That's great. Okay, unless there are any other questions, then I'll call this video to a close, but we'll have another one coming up very soon where I'll be playing the role as the Dracula player, and you'll see what it's like on that side of the board. And hopefully we can kill a few hunters and get some influence, or maybe I'll just end up in a heap on the floor with 0 health, but we'll see. But thank you, Twitch chat, for listening along. I hope it was informative. And thank you everybody on YouTube for watching. Feel free to leave any comments below. As I said, there are certain aspects of Hunter strategy that I didn't really discuss very much. But now you got the basics. As you're watching tournament gameplay or other games of mine, you'll see my thought process in different situations, but hopefully this is informative. And I will see you all in another video of Fury of Dracula very soon. Do feel free to check out the playlist that I've got on my channel, which is called Knowledge is Power, which is full of all Fury of Dracula tips and tricks videos with lots of different things. We're analysing all the different event cards and item cards, especially from the Hunter side. I talk about Hunter gameplay in a more sort of PowerPointy general sort of way, but there is also some more detail and some things I didn't explain in this video. I've got videos where I'm analysing all my different moves, all that sort of stuff. So that sounds interesting. Feel free to check it out below. Feel free to join the community too. Links down below. And I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye, everybody.